44 minutes after the hour, America. So pleased to welcome back United States Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas. Senator Cotton, good to have you back.
Hey, Hugh, it's great to be on with you as always.
I appreciate you making more time. You were at Deputy Smith's funeral earlier this week, and our time was truncated. And I wanted to go back and explore with you the ISIS question. But first, the story of the afternoon is that U.S. surveillance images show that China has positioned weaponry on at least one of the artificial islands it is developing in the South China Sea. Officials say, this is at Fox News, apparently confirming suspicions that Beijing is building up the area for military use. How do you react to this report, Senator Cotton?
Hugh, I can't say I'm surprised that China has stationed military on the artificial islands it's been building in the South China Sea. That's clearly been their intent all along to create effective military bases. They've even been trying to build an airstrip on one of them on land that's disputed, to which our allies like Taiwan and the Philippines have claims as well. That's why it's important that we continue to fly over this space and that we continue to send ships by it to make it clear that we do not accept the claims of Chinese sovereignty over this territory, and that we continue to confront this kind of Chinese aggression to reassure our allies in the region that we are going to support them in their valid legal claims and in our security commitments to them.
Has the Senate Armed Services Committee held any hearings yet on whether or not we might be able to counter this by helping our allies, the Philippines and Japan, maybe even Vietnam, build their own atolls in strategically useful locations?
We had a hearing earlier this year with the Pacific Command commanders, and while it wasn't specifically about China's land reclamation project in the South China Sea, it was a major topic of conversation. I'm not sure that the right approach is to encourage our allies to build artificial islands on these disputed reefs, as opposed to submitting it to proper international adjudication and dispute resolution. That's what China should be doing, and that's why we have to confront this kind of Chinese aggression. Just as we confronted their claims of an air defense identification zone over the East China Sea approximately 18 months ago, in which we can, at the time and still to this day, fly aircraft through without Chinese permission.
Now, Senator Cotton, my old boss, Richard Nixon, used to say Americans think in terms of decades, Russians generations, the Chinese centuries. So the reason I bring up building islands is eventually vigilance flags, right? We're about to talk about that in a minute. And eventually we pull up stakes and go away. But if you've built an island and you've contested the 12-mile jurisdiction, that doesn't go away.
No, islands don't go away, and our allies may, in fact, want to move forward with artificial islands of their own to help project power towards the Chinese mainland to defend their security interests. But as long as I have anything to do with it, America is not going away. America, in some ways, has been in East Asia going back to the mid-19th century and Commodore Perry, and East Asia is increasingly the most critical region of the world from an economic and a security standpoint. So we need to assure our allies, no matter what China does, we are going to be standing with them, upholding our security commitments, and continue to trade in more meaningful ways with them.
Now, Senator Cotton, I've been using your short appearance with me 2 days ago as the middle of a triptych. Senator Rand Paul saying ISIS is because of Republican hawks. Senator Cotton saying ISIS is because President Obama left in 2011 in Iraq, and Mike Pompeo saying ISIS is because of Saeed Qutb and the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood. I don't actually think you and Pompeo are contradicting each other, but do you want to expand on your answer? Because we ran short on time on Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, Mike is right that the Islamic State and Sunni radical groups like the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood really do go back at least to Saeed Qutb, as explained in the Looming Tower. However, the more immediate or proximate cause, if you will, of the rise of the Islamic State is Barack Obama's ill-fated decision to withdraw all of our troops from Iraq in 2011 against the better judgment of our military commanders at the time. Mike Morrell, who you've had on your show recently, was the deputy director of the CIA, and he has said that Al-Qaeda in Iraq, the group against which I and so many other Americans fought in the Iraq War, was defeated in 2011. But when we withdrew all of our troops and we didn't show leadership from the beginning of the Syrian civil war, we allowed the remnants of Al-Qaeda in Iraq the space and the time and the resources to regroup, to morph into the Islamic State and become what it is today, a terrorist army that is able to maneuver on the battlefield like a conventional military force.
That, in fact, I was with former Deputy Director Morrell last night at the Reagan Library, and he repeated that. He also, though, thought that the Iraq strategy presently employed would eventually drive ISIS back, but that it would not succeed in Syria. I think I'm being fair in summarizing that. Do you agree with his assessment in those theaters?
I certainly agree in Syria. We've taken almost no action in Syria against the Islamic State. There was a raid, as you know, that killed Abu Sayyaf and captured his wife a couple of weekends ago. And while that's a tactical success, we have no strategic successes in Syria whatsoever. I don't think I can agree that current policy in Iraq, though, is going to succeed. If it were to succeed, we wouldn't see towns like Ramadi continuing to fall. We wouldn't see the Islamic State continue to consolidate its control over Iraqi territory.
What is the story, Senator Cotton, to the extent you can tell us and not compromise, about the massing of ISIS and the refusal of America to use its air assets before the march on Ramadi?
Hugh, I would direct you to the Institute for the Study of War, an organization run by Kim Kagan with many very accomplished scholars. Their work has shown clearly that anybody with the eyes to see would have known that the Islamic State was massing forces around Ramadi and maneuvering like a conventional army. And then just a few days later, they captured Palmyra in Syria, and that, again, was part of a conventional battlefield operations, not terrorist operations, not insurgent operations, but conventional battlefield operations. And because we don't have enough of a commitment to our air campaign, because we're too restrained, because Iraqi forces don't have American air controllers on the ground to help them discriminate friend and foe in a dense urban environment, we're not able to stop the Islamic State from doing something like taking Ramadi.
Do you think Baghdad is threatened, Tom Cotton?
Baghdad will be tougher for the Islamic State to take because it's a majority Shiite country, but the Islamic State is dedicated fanatics. They're gaining in strength every day. They're getting more fighters. They have very capable commanders and generals. And I think it does at least face risks that the Islamic State could take it over.
I think you said it's a majority Shiite country. I think you meant majority Shiite city, right?
Yes. Sorry. The further east you go from Ramadi and Fallujah, the more the Shiite population gets into the majority, and Baghdad is a majority Shiite city, which means that they'll be more resistant to the Islamic State, but not necessarily immune from Islamic State attacks.
Or effective, yeah. Tom Cotton, Senator from Arkansas. Always a pleasure. Have a great weekend, Senator Cotton. I'll be right back. America, don't go anywhere. Fred Koster, the director of Ride the